January, February, March, April. We missed one, didn't we? Looks like you all had a lot of fun with Legendary Licks episode 4. Jimmy Page goes down a storm on this channel, so I hear what you're saying. I've taken some notes. I've planned a few videos for this week. Well, I'm going to be recording them this week. I probably won't put them all out this week, but there is more Jimmy on the way. I was thinking about making episode 5, 6, 7, and 8 all Jimmy Page if they're all going to get about 7,000 views in the first week. You guys are awesome. Let me know if you think several Legendary Licks episodes all about Jimmy Page is a bad idea, because I'm all ears. Today, I wanted to do something a little bit different though, because I thought I always mess around with this ZZ Top riff from LaGrange. It's an absolutely badass tune. One time I was just playing around with it and I did this really cool hammer-on pull-off thing. Didn't quite make it the first time I tried it, but I was like, oh, I'm onto something here. And I ended up figuring out this really cool turnaround. It feels like you're whipping your guitar. Because it's got that sort of aggressive, relentless blues shuffle to it, I figured it would be good to show you guys. And it's just one of them things that you can pick up. You don't need a plectrum, you know how it gets. You can just pick up your guitar, you don't need to go rummaging through all of your jeans back pockets looking for one. You can just play it straight away and it sounds really cool. I'm not professing that this is exactly the way it's played, but I figured it's a ZZ Top style riff and you would enjoy that. Don't forget, if you want the tab for this lesson, you can get it on my Patreon. As always, support me for as little as $1 a month, all the way up to $5,000 per month. For $5,000, I come round to your house in just a bow tie and I make you a steak dinner for 2, but I eat everything because I'm a fat bat. So you'll have to go McDonald's or something. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. Oh yeah, someone's been pissing around with After Effects. So we've got a few different variations of this riff. Here's the first one we're going to learn. So we're going to start with our index finger flat over the 2nd fret of the D and the G. And we're going to use our index and our middle fingers to pinch those notes. Our thumb is going to hit the open A string at the same time. So it's a 3-note pinch. As soon as you've done that, you're just going to go back to the 2 fingers. Okay? This is going to use a little bit of left hand dampening where we release the finger pressure. You can hear that. We still get a little bit of sort of harmonic bleed there, so right hand dampening is going to come into play as well. A little bit of percussive slapping on the strings. And when you mix them together, you keep it really tight and tidy and helps with your timing. So, pinch all 3, just the fingers, and then you're going to do 2 sets of 2, just the fingers. So what I do here is fingers, fingers, slap, fingers, fingers, slap, and each time I'm releasing the pressure of the index finger. Hope that makes sense. If you practice that technique and you understand it as a concept, you can take it forwards with you into loads of other tunes, but it's going to make all the other variations of this riff a lot easier as well. The next thing we're going to do is pinch the fingers again, but hammer on the pinky to the 5th fret of the D. Now as you do that, you'll notice that the underside of the pinky mutes the G string and cuts it off. We want that, so that's a good thing, because we don't want that interval ringing out. As you put the pinky down, it should naturally just dampen that G, which is really cool. So after that little movement, we go back to the open A with the thumb, and then back to that same 2, 5 on the D and G. So you get that back and forth. It really will help to just isolate little bits and loop them. And then you can practice digging in and bringing out the tone. So after that last finger pinch, we're going to take the pinky off, back to the double stop on the 2nd fret of the D and the G. To the 5 to the 2, so to speak, ends up back to back. So together you've got this. So at that point, if you treat that double stop at the end as the start of the 2nd repeat, you don't have to do that pinch again with the thumb, index and middle finger all at the same time, because you've done one full rotation, so to speak. And it's just a badass groove. It's really, really cool. My advice would be to get this one down before taking a look at the other variations. They are very similar, but if you can groove on that first one, you're going to find it even easier just to switch between them. Here's the 2nd variation. So even though this isn't the right order that I play them in, it's so comparable to the one I've just showed you, it makes more sense to learn this one. So the first part's exactly the same. So this is where it changes. We do pinch the D and the G on the 2nd fret the same, but our hammer on is to the G on the 5, which is a really cool note to go to. After that, we go back to the thumb, and then we move our finger from the G to the 5 on the D. So it's basically doing the opposite of what it did in the last one. Now here, you can play both strings if you want. You will just get a muted G. If you want that in there, that's kind of cool. Or you can just use the index finger to play just the D string, and it'll keep it a little bit more tidy, less clicky. That's just the index finger. And that's with the 2nd finger as well. So after that, you're going to go back to the thumb on the A, back to the index finger, same concept as before. And then obviously you've guessed it, you go back to the 2nd fret of the D and the G together. What I would do now is play them both back to back. So start with the first one and then move to that one. So the third one, a little bit different this time. Starts the same though. But instead of doing a hammer on the D or the G after this double stop, we're going to go to our thumb on the A string, and we're going to play fret 3 with our 2nd finger You can give it a little pull if you want. Then we go back to that double stop pinch. And then we stretch our pinky over to the 5 on the A. And then we go back to that double stop. And after we've gone back to that double stop, we immediately hit a thumb on the open A. And then back to our fingers. It's important that when you understand the order and the timing, that you really do dig in. Because, you know, there's a difference between kind of sounds like a timid breakdown, but you might pull it out a little bit, but you know what? Don't always be put off by practicing alone and thinking, oh, because, you know, you had a drummer, a singer, a bass player in that order. Not in that order. You know, it's not going to be as obvious. You know, this is the most vulnerable. You're at your most vulnerable when you're practicing by yourself. So just dig in, have some fun. Here's the final variation. So I was just messing around one night, something like that, and then I came up with this little turnaround, and I think it sounds pretty sick, if I do say so myself. Let's be honest, come on, it sounds sick. So it starts the same, but it comes out of that initial part that we learned a little bit sooner. So on that second repeat, we only do a single finger pinch. So we hit an open D and G, and we hammer on to the 4 and the 5 on the D and G with our second and our third fingers. As soon as you've done that, you're going to pull off back to the opens. It's one of them things, slow, isolated, sounds a bit weird, but bear with me. You can hear me catching the open B string there. That kind of thing will go away when you play it at speed, because you're traveling through and things get string muted and they tidy up, so don't worry about stuff like that happening while you're practicing. So after that pull off, we're then going to hit the open A with the thumb, and we hammer onto the 3, then the 5, and I use index and pinky. You could use the index and the third, but my logic is when you go from this kind of shape and then you go first and third finger for hammer on, there's a hand shape change or a hand position change ever so slightly, and using the pinky kind of, it keeps it a little bit more relaxed than that. But if your hand size is different, then, you know, use whatever fingers you feel most comfortable with. So after you've hammered on to the 5, you're then going to hit the open D and G again with the fingers. Then we take our second finger to the 3rd fret of the A, and we're going to pull off to the open. We play it with the thumb. So for the last note, we're going to take our second finger down to the 3rd fret of the low E and hit the G note. Obviously playing that with the thumb. And then go back to that double stop. So let's play them all together a little bit slow. A little bit faster. So one little bonus thing I'll add is you can shorten the last variation and get something like this. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing all of the stabs at the start instead of coming in one sooner. I do my hammer-on pull-off the same. I do my open A, 3rd and 5th fret hammer-ons the same. And the open G and D the same. But at that point there, I hit a thumb on the A again because we've come in a little bit later. We have to get back to the start a bit sooner. And then from there, you can go thumb and then the double stop. So the first one coming in at a different point in the bar goes like this. And the second one coming in ever so slightly later, but obviously starting again earlier. Here they are back to back. So if you made it this far, I don't know what you want me to say really. Well done, obviously. Obviously that is one thing I should say, well done. You made it through. Besides that, if you've hit subscribe, great. Thumbed it up, brilliant. Left me a comment, wicked. Not really got much else to say, to be honest. It's riffs on the radio next week. Can you think of any riffs that are on the radio at the moment that you'd like to learn? If so, let me know in the comments. If you learn this riff or any other licks or riffs from any of my lessons, send them to me, tag me in them on Instagram. I want to see, I'll share them. If they're good enough. If they're not good enough, blame your teacher. Yeah, that's me. Anyway, I'm clearly chatting too much today, so I'm gonna go. But it's been lovely. As always, hope you're staying safe in this really mad time. I don't really want to talk about it. I'm supposed to be a distraction from the virus. That's why I was put on this planet. So I'm going to go now. Go and wash your hands.